I don't even know what to say. The point of this video was to debunk posts like this one, and in doing so, I accidentally proved that the removal of the national dex has happened before, had incredible results, and is what people were asking for. So, let's get into it. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like. This needs to be shared with everyone because the Pokemon community is in the worst state that it has ever been in right now from all the misinformation, from all the outrage, from all the nonsense going on, and this video breaks down the facts, so please get it out there. And if you want to check out more of my content, it's in the description down below, so let's get into it. Just to disprove the people that are arguing balance is not a valid reason for the removal of some Pokemon in the Galar region. And it really makes me feel like a lot of the Pokemon community doesn't know what this is, or how the battle spot works. So first off, I want to get into what Game Freak has actually said about this, because what people are doing is they're just lying about Game Freak's intentions and then using that to justify what their beliefs are. So here's what they've said about it. But even more than that, it's coming down to the battle system. We're making sure we can keep everything balanced and give all the Pokemon that appear in the games a chance to shine. How is that a bad thing? You know, all this does is make you appreciate the game more because you can actually experience more of it without being overwhelmed by all the bloat that's been going on because we're over 900 Pokemon. We're going to be like around 900 Pokemon. We knew at some point we weren't going to be able to indefinitely keep supporting all of the Pokemon, and we just found that Sword and Shield would probably be a good point to go back and reevaluate what would be the best selection of Pokemon that appeal to the widest audience while keeping in consideration the balance of the battle system. And that's another thing. There's a lot of care going into this decision. At E3, they said they didn't just immediately come up with this idea. There was a lot of discussion of at Game Freak on how to do this. They didn't just snap half of the Pokedex away and go, all right, there we go. No, they're caring about the fans. They're caring about the battle system, which gives the game objective longevity, and they're also trying to make sure that everyone comes out of this as happy as possible, because there are just Pokemon that aren't as appreciated as others, so for like 0.1% of the community being slightly upset that their favorite Pokemon doesn't get to go in, you're going to be benefiting the game for everyone. Even the people that are being displaced by their Pokemon not being in the games, which also kind of gets disproven in this, you know, so let's keep going. It's also pretty much just balancing and getting the optimal selection of Pokemon for the adventure we wanted to provide. So they want to have a better experience, and they feel that is only possible by restricting the amount of Pokemon in the games, which is true from just how many Pokemon there are. So all of these arguments are just strawmen that you see coming from anything else. To those upset that this sub is pretty much our national dex right now, look at the bigger picture. It's bigger than just Pokemon, and these people are complaining about Game Freak being lazy. That, you know, it's bad that Game Freak's being lazy because other game developers are going to follow in their footsteps because Pokemon is such a large franchise. That's just completely false. That no amount of development time changes this. That this is Game Freak's vision for the future of Pokemon. That not every Pokemon can fit into every game, not because of data, not because of the workload, not because of model renders and detail and stuff like that, but just because it's simply too many Pokemon to make a good experience with. The unused walk-run animations for every Pokemon in Sun and Moon are why I don't buy the animation excuse. But that isn't an excuse. We just saw what Game Freak has to say about it. That's a straw man because you want to believe something wrong and then commit to that, which is idiotic. And then people get mad at me for calling just people choosing to be wrong idiots. I don't know. And then I found some other ones. They hated him because he spoke the truth. 4,000 upvotes. Before you say this makes the game unbalanced, simply don't have every Pokemon available to catch, but at least let them transfer like in every single game before Pokemon Sword and Shield, and then post like these. So did Game Freak just forget that they balance the 3DS games with specific symbols, allowing selected Pokemon to enter into the official battles? Except this isn't balanced. And I'm sorry that I had to take so long to actually set this video up, but that's just the broken state of the Pokemon community right now. People are just so toxic and so intolerant of the truth going on that I have to actually dedicate that much to just kind of setting up the reality of the situation so I can also explain it further. So let's go to rating battles. Pokemon that can participate in rating battles can only be from Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, Sun and Moon, Omega Ruby, Pokemon X and Y. So anything Pokemon banked into the 3DS generation during the 7th generation is not eligible for rating battles, and then it was the same for Generation 6. So you could only have Pokemon XY in Pokemon X and Y rating battles, couldn't do anything from Generation 5. So already that Pokemon you want to transfer from Generations 3 through 5 is just unusable. It doesn't matter if you brought in a Pokemon Sun and Moon, hyper-trained it, and it's actually competitive. Your favorite Gardevoir or Lucario that's been with you for many years just doesn't get to play on the rating battle spot. And then that brings us to the symbols specifically, because then that brings us to the championship battles. The Ultra Sun Ultra Moon League uses the rules for the 2018 VGC World Championships. That's good, because Rule 1.4, Pokemon must have the black clover on their summary screen. So what that means is we are already at multiple points of separation. We have the free battle spot, which allows everything. We have the rated battle spot, which only allows 3DS obtained Pokemon. And then we have the official competitive VGC that only allows Pokemon inside of Sun and Moon. So now the Pentagon and the Clover work in one, but the Clover only works in another one, and everything else works in one, and some transfer restrictions may still apply. That's already complicated, and we're not even halfway there. So now we can also dial it back to the 2014 VGC rules. This is the first format that had Pokemon X and Y, and only Pokemon from X and Y game cards inside the Kalos decks were usable, and they had to be Kalos native. So that Pentagon from the Garchomp post, those were the only Pokemon that you can use in VGC 2014, even after Pokemon Bank. So Pokemon Bank comes out, let's say you want to bring in a Kangaskhan from Generation 5 and then use that in VGC, you're not allowed to do it. So all the Pokemon became available, and it didn't matter. And then you know what happened for Pokemon VGC 2015? That was Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. So the entirety of official competitive Pokemon for Pokemon X and Y only allowed the use of regional Dex Pokemon that also didn't have as much care put into it as Galar with the Kalos Dex. So it's only going to get better, but where are the complaints then? Oh, that's right, people were too busy flaunting over Pachirisu winning Worlds. That was 2014, you had all the Pokemon, here's 2015. And this is actually a very noteworthy post in itself. 6,000 views, 2,000 upvotes. So 1 in 3 people saw this post and agreed with the sentiment that this is bad. You know, VGC 2015 has variety. The irony being the lack of, or the joke, or the sarcasm of it being the lack of variety, with almost all the teams being identical. And if you go to top 16, it's all effectively this. You know, you have 3 of the same Pokemon or more on every single team, and people hated it. So much so, this was the top comment. You try balancing 700 Pokemon. So even though that post showing the Pentagon, which is exclusively for Generation 6, this is the response to the Generation 6 Pentagon balancing. Are we supposed to be shocked? You try balancing 700 Pokemon, 1,000 upvotes on 6,000 views, which is a much higher ratio than the 60,000 downvotes on 1.1 million views. So, the Pokemon community is just complete hypocrisy, and you can't please anyone, and then people just choose to be idiots about it. And then it gets even better. The reply to that one, the top reply, the vast majority were never meant to be competitive. They could at least give it a shot. Most of these have been auto-pick for multiple generations. So what Game Freak wants to do is respond to this complaint and give people exactly what they wanted, exactly what they have asked for in the past, by taking Pokemon that have struggled competitively or just not viable in the past, separating them so they can work on them individually and make sure they have a chance to work, balancing them, and then making a game focused around that. Because the thing about Pokemon Sun and Moon is that VGC is dead, competitive is dead. Hacking's a big part of that, but also because the game is terribly imbalanced. And when you think about Pokemon, it's about being the best like no one ever was. The end game of Pokemon is competitive. Whether it's Game Boy link cable back in the 90s, or Wi-Fi battles in, like, you know, Generation 4, and then whatever we have right now with modern Pokemon battles, that's where your goal is. You end up taking your team and then fighting other people with it. That is what Pokemon is for a majority of people, because that is what Pokemon is made to be. It's a monster fighting simulator based in PvP. The amount of people that take it from a solo player completionist perspective is so insignificant that it does not justify the amount of outrage that we are seeing currently from the Pokemon community. But now, after we get all that fun stuff out of the way, we get to talk about the free battle spot. Because the free battle spot is where you're allowed to use everything without restrictions. So you know what? Your pre-Marina, let's just say, like, I'm expecting that all starter Pokemon are going to be in Galar personally. But for example, let's just say Generation 7 Pokemon, they're not in Galar, so therefore they can't be in the games. So if these people have it their way by just having all of the Pokemon in their games so they get to appreciate their Pokemon, I don't think your Primarina is going to be happy that it can only go up against Arceus and other teams of hacked legendary Pokemon, because that's what Pokemon Bank opens up to. Most of the Pokemon going through are just going to be hacked. Now, that's going to be a problem for Galar native Pokemon, but having hacked legendaries, hacked mythicals, every Pokemon species being hacked instead of just what's allowed, that's a much bigger problem, and then you don't get to appreciate the Pokemon you're crying about wanting anyways. Which means, to accommodate all of these complaints, your battle spot screen is going to have to look something like this. Free battle without restricted Pokemon, rating battle with transfer, rating battle Galar only, VGC championship battle, and then the special format that they have. This is not progress. Splitting the competitive community, splitting the teams that you can use, and making it to where there's all these restrictions and all these different places where all these different Pokemon have to go does not make the game feel better. This is clunky. This just shows the problem that we have with the bloat and all the Pokemon that are making it to where Game Freak chose this decision would be best, because when you look at something like this, it's definitely going to be best for Pokemon. So going back to that original post, did Game Freak forget? No, they acknowledge it as a failure for making it to where you could try to use all of the Pokemon and have all the Pokemon. You can't have your cake and eat it too, because something is going to go wrong. We've seen this. People are complaining no matter what happens. And I think that even if you put in all the Pokemon in the national decks, either in this game or the next game, or you take an extra year, you know, let's say Pokemon Sword and Shield, they take an extra year of development, they add in all the Pokemon games, they do everything right, they're still going to get hate. There's still going to be something that pisses off a massive amount of the community, or at least a massive amount of the vocal minority of the community, and then people are going to boycott it anyways. We saw this Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. What is the big things on the wish list for Pokemon games? Pokemon following you again, overworld Pokemon encounters, more accessible competitive, less handily story. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee delivered that in spades. And there was also another thing that everyone has wanted. Pokemon Go you can play from home. Pokemon Let's Go gives you that as well. Hates it. Pokemon Sword and Shield, overworld Pokemon. Pretty much every feature that has been asked for is inside of Pokemon Sword and Shield, except for Pokemon Following You, but we just had that in the last game that you guys hated, so wonder why Game Freak took that out. And then we also have all these features that people asked for, but no one said that they need to have every single Pokemon in every game. That's also a meme. You know, before the announcement of Pokemon Sword and Shield, people were talking, haha, I can't wait for 1,000 Pokemon. You know, but they weren't saying that as a good thing. People are saying this as a bad thing. Like, oh boy, 1,000 Pokemon, when's Pokemon just going to stop? You know, that's the main sentiment, but then Game Freak goes, you're right, that's the sentiment. Let's have it to where we can appreciate all the Pokemon on a smaller scale. And now they get hated for it. So, you'll never be able to please the Pokemon community because it's just far too toxic at this point. A lot of what they believe is just wrong and can be disproven, and then they're just outraged idiots at that point. That's kind of where we stand. So, hope you guys enjoy the video. Don't forget to share it. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.